All right, coming up to the board is Tyler. Now, Tyler wants to talk about why they still support Trump, I'm assuming. Tyler, if you can hear me, please provide me your age and pronouns.
32, he, him.
Okay, and Tyler, did you vote for Donald Trump?
I did, yep.
Okay, and you still support him now?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's more like, I'm more support him because of the left, and there's no middle point with you guys.
There's no middle point
so
with
far,
us.
There's no middle point. Like, if you look at who your candidates are, you pick candidates that are absurd.
What?
I mean, like
we
Kamala,
picked Kamala.
was a joke.
Kamala Harris was a massive centrist. What do you mean? That would be a major middle point.
She was a joke.
What made Kamala Harris a joke of a candidate?
What did she ever do?
She was a state prosecutor for years. She was a attorney, not an attorney general. Oh my God, what was it called?
For years, who laughed about putting people in prison for marijuana charges. That's who the left should support. I get it.
Was marijuana legal at the time she put people into prison? For marijuana?
Should be doing life in prison for marijuana charges?
Was marijuana legal at the time she put people into prison?
No.
Okay, so what did you want her to do?
I don't want you to laugh about putting people in prison for life over something.
She didn't put anybody in prison for life.
Okay, you're right.
I am right. She didn't put people in. She did not put anybody in prison for life for marijuana charges. And in fact, of the people that were put in prison under her tenure for strictly marijuana charges, it was about 20 people. Everybody else had other charges connected to it.
Oh, listen, I'm a believer that there should be consequences for your actions. That's not what I'm saying. I think there should be some moralistic value to it as well.
What moralistic value? She was following the law.
I think.
I agree. I don't think marijuana should have been illegal, but she was a district attorney that was following state and federal law. She couldn't.
Okay, so then you would not laugh about it. I would say, hey, I'm doing my job.
Sure, but I don't really give a shit. I don't really get, if I'm looking at two people running for office and one laughed while saying that, while the other said I could shoot somebody in the street and still have supporters, I really don't give a shit about the laugh, right? Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. I care what policies these people are proposing.
I care more about policies that affect everyday Americans than affect a few Americans. Social justice policies.
What policies of Donald Trump's are going to positively affect most Americans?
A strong border affects everybody in America.
Donald Trump's crackdowns on the border have negatively impacted Americans. It's caused farms to go bankrupt. Farm bankruptcies are up 55% because they're losing agricultural workers.
Because they use illegal immigrants.
No, some of them. No. Hold on.
I work in the land.
Wait, Tyler.
And we use
Tyler,
H2B.
please let me finish, Tyler.
We use H2B. Tyler,
please let me finish. Even farms that do not employ undocumented workers, their documented workers aren't showing up because they're fearful of being falsely arrested by ICE.
The only reason you would be fearful is because you were undocumented.
Incorrect. I work in
the agriculture industry.
Homie, ICE has arrested legal citizens. ICE has arrested legal citizens. So no, you do have a reason to be fearful. ICE, not only has ICE arrested legal citizens, but ICE, what did you say?
They're released.
Doesn't matter. They still got arrested. Is it okay to falsely arrest? Wait, is it okay?
Perfect system. Letting 13,000 people in a day isn't the
Tyler, is it okay? Is it okay to arrest you as long as we let you go later if you didn't do anything?
No, I would take the legal steps to be compensated for it.
Yeah, and do you think some people are afraid because this administration is ramped up so hard that they're afraid they won't get the chance to be released and they'll be deported before they even get that chance?
I think when you open the southern border...
Joe Biden didn't open the southern border. border. Joe Biden didn't open the
he
southern
did.
border. No, he didn't.
He did.
No, he did not.
Okay, he did.
Was it illegal to cross the southern border when Joe Biden was?
How many people were coming across?
That does not mean he opened the southern border. Was it illegal to come across the southern border when Joe Biden was president?
In some extent, yes.
Nope. In all extenses, in all cases, it was illegal.
Claim asylum.
Well, that's because claiming asylum is not claiming asylum is a legal process. I'm talking about people who came here illegally. Claiming asylum is not coming here illegally.
Yes.
I'm talking about the people who came here illegally.
People were coming across the border a day. 13,000.
Not seeking asylum. How many asylum seekers came across the border in 2021?
I don't know the exact answer to that. I could look it up. But I don't know.
Well, because you're claiming it's 13,000, but in 13,000 per day. We can look at the numbers. In 2023, it was about 400,000 people came over for asylum. That's not 1,300 a day. Or 13,000. You said 13,000 a day. Yeah, that's not 13,000 a day. 13,000 a day would be 4 million asylum seekers a year. That's not the case.
So between 2001 and 2004, our population grew by 3.5 million.
Okay. And
you don't think that has anything to do with that? We're bringing. So we grew by 3.5 million. What is that a case of? It's a case of us letting too many people into the country. Okay, and there was no lockdown on bringing in anybody that was
I would
illegal.
say it's probably primarily due to people being home and fucking a bunch during COVID. But okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, in 2021, the population was 332 million. In 2023, the population was 334 million. So it went up by 2.9 million between 2021 and 2023.
Okay, what I have says 3.5. I don't know what you're looking at. So, and that's still a shit ton of people. I mean, either way, I think the tariffs are a good idea in the long run. I think that we will see an impact from it immediately. And I think anyone who knows how money works, that we're going to see that. I don't think that we should only pay tariffs out to countries and then not expect.
Why are we on tariffs? Why are we on tariffs? We're not even on tariffs.
Because you asked me why do I support what policies do I support of Trump? I said that. I said strong borders and I said tariffs.
Okay,
so I answered that both the same thing.
So you support a tax? You support increasing taxes?
100%. 100%.
Why should an increase on taxes happen at the expense of the American people?
Because we're paying for it anyways. We pay for it either way. I would rather us tax China and get some of these corporate.
China doesn't get taxed with tariffs. China doesn't pay any tariffs. If we tariff China doesn't pay that.
What do you mean they don't pay it?
Tariffs are paid by the importer, not the exporter. So the American companies buying the products are who pay for the tariffs.
That's not true.
That is the most true thing that I've ever stated in my life. Actually, tariffs are import taxes. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That's what tariffs are. Tariffs are import taxes.
Okay, so the manufacturer pays for the tax.
No, the importer pays for the tax.
And the byproduct of it is they raise their prices on their merchandise. I understand that we pay for it in the long run.
The importer pays the tax. So let's say there's a Chinese company that makes TVs, and I want to sell those TVs as an American store, and I buy 20 of those TVs to sell in my store. I pay the tariff, not the Chinese company shipping me the TVs. When the TVs get to customs, they're declared as an import, and then I have to pay whatever the tariff is for that the United States has set on that product from that country. I pay that.
So if that's the case of all the tariffs, why is China and Canada, why are they wanting to not do business with us?
Because it's tariffs.
How does it affect them at all then?
Because it's going to stop people from buying their products.
Okay, which is what we need to do.
No, it isn't. It's going to actually hurt us because America doesn't
incentivize products being made in America.
No, we don't.
We need to incentivize companies bringing their industrial plants back
No,
to
we
America.
actually don't want that. We don't want America
Why?
to
Then you don't care about America.
No, that's a crazy leap, because what China is successful at is small scale manufacturing. They make the small scale pieces that we then assemble. We want to focus on assembly, sure. And the higher end put togethers, that's fine. But base level manufacturing, no, it actually makes way more sense economically that we ship out to China and then we focus on the more skilled parts of that, which are assembly and higher tiered manufacturing. We don't, and then tariffs aren't just covering manufactured goods. It also covers certain agricultural products, which is why coffee is getting so much more expensive, because we're tariffing coffee beans. We don't grow coffee in the US. We don't grow most fruits. Like so many of the fruits are foods that we eat come from outside of the US. And then you can look at how Trump is fucking over our farmers when he fucking starts a trade war with China. We were like the number one soybean producers in the world until he started a trade war with China last term, and Argentina took that over. Argentina took over being the largest soybean manufacturer in the globe. So they have the market share now. So our farmers who were here lost all that money and have lost their farms. This is why farm bankruptcies are up 55%. And we're doing the same thing with beef. He's decided to make a trade deal to get beef from outside of the US, and he's fucking over the beef farmers that are in the US.
I mean, look, you're probably a lot more educated on a lot of this stuff than me, and there's some things that I will agree listen, I voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016, okay? I've started to realize that the left doesn't care about the majority of America. Do I think Donald Trump, personally, just to be very transparent, personally, I don't think Donald Trump is the best choice as the Republican candidate. I don't think so. I think that he has a strong group behind him. I think that he's his own biggest enemy. I think he doesn't know when to shut the hell up. He has to defend himself because he's been in a place of power for so long that none of his actions could ever be questioned. Now everything he does is questioned and is put under a microscope, and he thinks the best thing to do is to go and defend himself when sometimes the best thing said is nothing at all.
I mean, the best thing Trump can do is stop fucking over the people in the U.S. That's the best thing he can do. Trump put through his whole campaign, he said, we need to stop buying from outside of the U.S. and produce from inside of the U.S. It doesn't matter if it's cheaper to go outside the U.S. It's hurting the U.S. when we do this. And then the second beef got too expensive, in the U.S., he said we need to go to Argentina. They've increased the total of beef they get from Argentina to 80,000 metric tons because he said it's too expensive to buy beef in America. I thought we were all about paying more to pay for American. He's a liar. Donald Trump is a liar. He's a hypocrite. And the fact that you went from Bernie, who was a pro-working person's president, to Trump.
That Bernie wants what's best for Americans. For Americans, I think that his
policies are Trump sure doesn't.
But I think he genuinely wants what's best for people in America.
Sure, but Donald Trump does not. And you went from supporting Bernie to supporting someone Bernie actively can't stand.
Because I don't think his policies make sense. I don't think that there should be free healthcare. I think that there should be free education to an extent. I don't think there should be free healthcare. I think that
how much do Americans on average pay for per year? How much on average per year does one American pay for his healthcare?
I don't know the exact number. I know it's way too much.
$12,000. $12,000.
I know that happened because of Obamacare.
Nope.
Which in theory
Obamacare lowered that number. Obamacare lowered that number. That number was higher pre-Obamacare.
Obamacare was a terrible idea.
No, that number was higher pre-Obamacare.
It was a decent idea. It was implemented terribly.
No, Obamacare lowered the amount per year that the average American paid for their health care.
Okay, you're right. In 2004, my family paid $100, and granted, I had very good health insurance. I had probably the best health insurance you could get in America. I had a 4-person family. Our deductible for the year, we could pay $100 for an ER visit. After that, there was no more deductible for the rest of the year. There has never been an insurance like that since Obamacare, and it's because he privatized it. He privatized insurance. Whereas before, an insurance company had to tell you, okay, this is more expensive than doing this. Now they don't have to show you the prices. So you could go in there and you could pay for a prescription that could cost you $8 without insurance, but they're going to charge you $35 because that's what your deductible is.
So this is not due to the Obamacare. This is due to health markups. And specifically, it's due to health insurance is using
privatizing. It's due to privatizing healthcare.
Healthcare has been privatized in the United States since the 80s.
But they had to be transparent before, whereas now they don't have to be. Now they can hide everything.
They didn't have to be transparent before. They never had to be transparent.
Okay.
What do you mean? They did not have to be transparent before.
Well, I would be very considerate of voting for a Democratic candidate if a Democratic candidate cared about the policies that affect me on a day-to-day basis.
Hold on. I just want to touch on this really quickly. Because you mentioned transparency, but the ACA is what standardized summaries of benefits. We didn't have standardized summary of benefit coverage before the ACA. That's transparency that the ACA provided. Medical loss ratios, that's from the ACA, that those have to be reported. Rate increases have to be publicly disclosed. That's per the ACA. They didn't have to do that prior to the ACA.
Okay. I'd have to look into it more. I can look into it
at the very most, like, I'm sorry, but at the very most, like, pre-existing conditions, like, whatever your faults with the ACA are, they pale in comparison to getting pre-existing conditions covered. Pale. The amount of people that had to pay out the ass because they had pre-existing conditions, I don't care what the ACA, what people's negatives with the ACA are. The ACA being able to make it so you couldn't be denied coverage or overcharged coverage for a pre-existing condition is the best thing that's happened to American healthcare in like 40 years.
Okay. I'm not sure I agree with that, but
what do you mean? Did you think it was good during like the 80s and 90s where if somebody had like HIV, their health insurance could deny them because they had HIV? Or like if you didn't have health insurance and you had diabetes, they'd be like, sorry, we're not covering you. Pre-existing condition.
Not necessarily, no. I don't think that it's right that you could spike a medicine 800% and hide it behind insurance either.
Okay, but spiking medicine is not a fault of Obamacare. They were doing this before Obamacare.
There's things now that your insurance will say, hey, I'm not going to pay for that.
There are absolutely things that your insurance won't pay for, but they have to give you a summary of benefits. So you have to know exactly what will or will not be paid for.
I mean, I don't know what the insurance was like in the 80s and 90s. I was a child in the 90s. So I don't know.
They didn't need to give you a summary of benefits. You just had to guess and pray.
If that is correct, then I'm glad that has been corrected. But I don't know if that's true or not true. I would hate to think that America. I'm not saying you're wrong. I would hate to think that most Americans would be so naive that they wouldn't know what they're paying for.
You had to. There was no way for you to really know what you're paying for because they didn't have the rule set where they had to provide you a summary of benefits. You just had to hope and pray. And even now, like, even if we're talking the Obamacare, like the ACA subsidies are fucking huge for especially like people like me. I pay for my own health insurance out of pocket because I'm self-employed. My health insurance will jump up an insane degree if the ACA subsidies are allowed to expire. My insurance is going to go from like $280 a month. I pay for a relatively decent plan They're going to go from like $280 a month to like closer to $1,000 to $2,000 because insurances will just be able to do that now. There's nothing subsidizing the healthcare for millions of people.
So my whole statement on this was that I didn't think the insurance should be free. I do think that insurance should be affordable. I don't think that healthcare should be a free commodity. I do think it should be affordable.
But that's why I wanted to talk to you about the price that people pay, right? In America, we pay about $12,000 on average per person for our healthcare, and our healthcare is not
crazy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. But Canada, who has free healthcare, they pay $6 per person. They pay less than we do. They don't pay as much on the end of plans, right? And
I don't think
in terms of healthcare
metrics,
Canada beats us in almost every healthcare metric except for like administrative. So like, again, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why are we not moving? We pay more than pretty much every country that has a universal healthcare system. We need to just move to a universal system, whether that be single payer, whether that be a public option only, whether that be Medicare for all, whatever system we move to. But it is very clear that we overpay, we receive lower quality care.
So the U.S. offers faster access to specialists and advanced treatments, excels in areas like cancer.
That's just because we have more specialists.
Because they get paid so much more. So I think there's a middle ground in between. I think that if you want to have the best health care, you should have to pay for it. I don't think it should be $12,000 a year. I think that's a little outrageous. But I think that you have to incentivize the best doctors to be here. So I think there has to be a middle ground.
If the only way to get good doctors is by paying those good doctors more, I don't want those doctors operating on me or anybody else.
That's the reality of the world, though.
No, it isn't. So many doctors. First of all, the reason doctors are paid so much in the U.S. is because they're fucking paying out the ass for medical school. So they like need to be paid highly because they 100%. Need to cover bills. If you ask an average person if you ask the average doctors, even specialists, like most of them are not making this crazy amount of money. They're in so much medical debt.
Oh, I believe that 100%. I think that education. See, I am a believer that public college, so any public school should be tuition free. That is what I believe. I think that education is power, and that we should incentivize people to go to schools. I 100% believe that. I think that if you want to go to a private university, you should pay for that. That's your choice. You go into a private university, you should pay for that. Now, when it comes to room and board, you should pay for that, as you would pay for anywhere else that you would live.
By the way, I found the rankings. This is from the what specifically is it? The Commonwealth Fund, which is just analyzing countries in the G7 and their healthcare qualities. The U.S. is ranked 10th, which is the last place. Canada's ranked 7th. Canada outpaces us again in every metric except for care process. That's it. They outrank us in everything else except for care process. And care process, like I said, is just like care process looks at whether the care that is delivered includes features and attributes that most experts around the world consider to be essential to high quality care. That's the only thing Canada doesn't beat us in. They beat us in every other metric. So I just don't know why we're like, and if you want to talk about education, like then why are we voting in Republicans who got all pissy when the Democrats tried to alleviate college debt? The Republicans hated that. Fought against it.
I don't agree with every conservative belief. I don't agree with that. I'm like I told you, I'm somewhere very in the middle. I think the reality is that Democrats care more about social justice policies than they care about policies that affect all Americans. I think DEI is inherently racist. I think that it's the worst thing you can do is tell a black child that they are different because of their skin color.
As a black child, it's important. As somebody who was once a black child, it's pretty important that black children know what they're going to
It's not to
experience.
develop a victim mentality.
There is no. First of all, DEI. The myth of DEI. You fell for a myth. You fell for a myth, my G.
In place for you as a black man.
No, there aren't.
Than there are for me as a white man.
No, there aren't. Name me a policy. 100%. Name me a policy.
Can you go to school for being black?
You can go. What are you talking about? White people receive the bulk of need-based and merit-based scholarships in the U.S. So
nothing that I receive
white
in America
people receive the bulk of need and merit-based scholarships in the United States. White people get the majority of them. So name me a policy that specifically exists that only helps black people and does not help white people. What is that policy?
Well, I can't think of what it's called.
Because it doesn't exist.
No, it does. It does.
Doesn't.
I'm drawing a blank right here, but oh man, what's it called? It lowers the standard. What is it called? You know what I'm talking about.
Doesn't exist.
Yes, it does.
Show me one job that lowered their standards in order to be able to hire black people.
Give me a second. I don't know why I'm forgetting this right now. Affirmative action.
Affirmative action predominantly helped white women. White women were the most recipients of affirmative action policies. So that's not helping predominantly black people. That's predominantly helping white women.
I don't think that's true. I think women are part.
I don't care if you don't think it's true.
Here's what you have to take in consideration for that. When you look at the amount of white women there are in the country compared to the amount of black people, period, you make up 13% of the population.
What does that? Okay, what does that have to do with anything? We would be looking at the rates. We would be looking at this per population.
When it comes to certain things, so women were considered a minority. So it did help. It did help with that.
The goalpost is moving so fucking far, dude. The goalpost is moved across the fucking field, back into the school, down the stairs, out into the swamp.
Do numbers have anything to do with statistics?
When we look at statistics around this, we look per capita. We adjust for population. So when you go, well, there's more of these people, that doesn't matter because we adjust per capita. We adjust for the population.
Show me that then. Show me where it adjusts per capita and that you're under marginalized.
In which system do you want to see it in? I can show fucking any. Where do we want to touch on the fact that
show me where affirmative action doesn't affect black people more than
again
white women are
the primary recipients. So when we look at, there was a report that came out in 1995.
Per capita.
Well, there was a report that came out. Yes, there was a report that came out in 1995 by the U.S. Department of Labor, which showed that of the 13 million jobs that were created by affirmative action, white women accounted for over half of the recipients of those jobs. Just white women. For all of the people, all white women don't make up half of all minority people, but they received over half.
I'm not worried about what it did.
Affirmative action hasn't been a thing since the 90s. Affirmative action hasn't been a thing since the 90s.
I know that when I went to school,
affirmative action hasn't been a thing since the 90s. I don't know what you're like. What? That was when affirmative action was pushed. You can't name me a single. There are no DEI policies. There are no DEI policies. There's been no legislation around DEI. There's been no company that's lowered standards for DEI.
I didn't say that. I said y'all care more about stuff like that than you do policies that affect it.
I care that people who are marginalized, who don't have access to the same tools. That's the dumbest shit anybody's ever said. It's untrue. It's untrue. Black people.
Show me how you're marginalized.
Sure, great. I'll just go through a list of a bunch of different ones. So stay quiet for 5 minutes. I'll just go through a list of a bunch of different examples. White people have a mean familial wealth in the United States of $200,000. Black people have a mean familial wealth in the United States of $12,000. Wealth gap. Marginalized. We're marginalized there. There's one disparity. Two, we can look at the disparity in criminalization. When we look at criminalization, black people receive sentences 14 times higher than their white counterparts, 14 times higher or harsher than their white counterparts, even when we adjust for first-time crime, even when we adjust for first-time crime and type of offense. That's partially in the criminal justice system. Now let's look at another section of the criminal justice system. Let's look at police pullover rates. Black people are pulled over by more than their white counterparts 16 times higher, at a higher rate, by police, except when police can't see the race of the person driving the car, in which case the rate of pullover evens out. Because police can no longer see the person driving the car, so they're not pulling people over just because they're black. Let's go to the medical system. Black women have a higher maternal mortality rate than white women. They die more in childbirth than white women. Their pain is ignored at a higher percentage than white women in the doctor's office, right? Because there's still this fucking myth that goes around that black people tolerate pain higher than white people, which wasn't even removed from medical textbooks until like 2005. So it's still ingrained in tons of doctors across the US. We can look at the education system, right? Again, white people receive the bulk of need and merit-based scholarships. So black people are going to have a harder time getting the financial assistance they need to get into higher education systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can keep going.
It's based on merit. Because it's based on merit.
Need-based scholarships are not based on merit. They're need-based. That's why I separated need and merit-based.
You said need and merit.
Yup. Merit-based.
Okay, the only thing that I'll give you any kind of
the only thing you'll give me, if you're going to sit here and deny the shit I just said, that means you just live in a world of where you don't want to listen to facts.
I don't. This is the world I live in. This is the world I live in. Do I believe black people are prosecuted more harshly than white people? 100%, I'll give you that. 100%, I'll give you that. And that's the only place where systematic racism is at.
I just gave you a list of them. I don't really care if you think that's the only one. No, I'm going to keep going. I'm actually going to keep going. No, I don't care. I'm actually just going to keep going. Because for you to sit here, I put you on mute. For you to sit here and go, I don't agree with all the other ones. Great. I'm going to keep going. We can look at resumes. When two resumes of the same name are sent to an employer, and two resumes of the same quality are sent to an employer, and one resume has a traditionally black sounding name and one has a traditionally white sounding name, the white resume gets called back 50% more than the black name resume. I wonder why that is, Tyler. I wonder why the black sounding resume gets called back 50% less. We can keep on going. I can keep on rattling this time and time and time and time and time again, because we have a litany of examples that in this country, black people face disparities in almost every system that exists at a higher rate than white people, consistently. So there are policies that are put into place, not even policies, they're more company-wide decisions, right? Because there's been no government thing saying you have to do this, but corporations will implement their own set of standards in which they are seeking out talent from outside of certain talent pools. Doesn't mean they're pulling in people who are unqualified. You're not going to find a single person that got hired through some fictional DEI policy that was not qualified for the job. You're just mad that the people that got hired weren't white. I don't play that shit. Have a good day. Hey, thank you all for watching this video. If you don't know me, I'm Jovan Bradley. I'm a leftist content creator who does debates, political commentary, gaming, and more. If this is your first video, thanks for sticking to the end, and I hope you subscribe. I post videos daily, and there are hundreds of past debates on my page for you to enjoy. Thank you to all my YouTube members. Your continued support helps me create as much as I can. Consider joining. A membership starts at $2.99 and gets you access to our community Discord, early access to videos, and more. Shout out to my Tier 4 members, Red Fairy DF, Ellie McReady, Not 3.6R, Sylvia Snow, Paul D, Zurith Moonpaw, Kazim, Never Again, Bamji, Emery Imogene, Ayla Ursus, Call Me Vel, Kelsey K, Jake Gorshander, Matthew Holloway, Vampy, Yemye, Mealy, and Dragon Nerd. Your continued support goes a long way in helping me continue the fight for equity, justice, and education. Thank you again for watching.